Ryan Cole, thanks for taking the time. Congratulations, Mountain West Conference champions on the men's side, and it's what you expected going in, but wow, 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a good day for us. I think with about 800 meters to go, there looked like there may be an opportunity to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which was also kind of exciting. But there's some really good competitors in our conference, and we were proud with how the guys handled a lot of different situations going into the event, how they executed within the race. But they also know it's a step in the postseason here in the championship season, and so we took care of step one, and now we turn our attention to the regional meet and the national meet.
Let's stay with the men, though. Sean Mason, the conference champion, and all the names of all the people. I think people were looking for Sam Gilman to maybe be up there a little higher, maybe win the event. But how deep is this, and that people just go Air Force? They remember the name Air Force almost more than these other names I've mentioned.
Yeah, going in, we talked about what we needed to do as a team, and then there were 5 or 6 different people that we felt like on any given day, depending on how the race played out, could win. And so we talked to each person about what they needed to do to set themselves up to do that. We have a very strong senior class. We have 6 seniors that are very good leaders. But I think, if you talk to anybody on our team, Sam is the leader of our team. And so, he didn't quite have the finish he wanted on that day, but we also got together at the beginning of the season and said, what are our priorities? And we were aiming for November. Sam knows that. Our team knows that. So, it was – you want to see everyone have a chance to win, or everybody, all 5 or 6 of them come across the line, together. That would be pretty neat. But that's why you run the race. And I was actually really happy for Sean as well. Sean's brother, we found out the day before, he has an injury. He's not going to be able to race the rest of the year. It's a pretty challenging situation for Sean, as it is for Scott. And I gave Sean a hug after the race and said, I don't think there's any better way you could honor your brother other than going out and winning the race. But that's hard. They're very close. Our team is very close, so it wasn't just hard for Sean, but it definitely, was a little different level for Sean. I think he handled it really well, and it's also very hard for Scott. And so I hope he knows that, we're going to go out and do everything we can, and we know that he's going to continue to contribute to our team this fall in any way he can. So there were a lot of variables that went into the conference meet that made it a pretty special outcome.
On the ladies' side, maybe a little more disappointment there. Talk to me your impression of what happened in that race.
Well, we knew that outside of the number 1 team in the conference, pretty much number 2, definitely 3 through 5, or even 3 through 6 on any given day could shake out, just depending on how things went that day. I think Hallie Hamilton up front, she was 1 spot out of all conference, 2nd team last year and 15th, and then was the freshman of the year. And then this year being 7th and being 1st team all conference was pretty neat. She had a very strong run. India Jones, one of our newcomers, had probably the best race of her career so far. Rachel Kreitzer continues to get better as one of our juniors. Lindsay Peters had a little bit of a tough day, but we wouldn't even be talking about being a top 3 team in the conference or potentially being a nationally qualifying team this fall if it wasn't for Lindsay Peters' contributions to our teams. So really, it's our back-end scoring needs to improve. That didn't happen at the conference meet, and so we try to figure that out and move forward into the region meet. But we know we have the personnel just through our sport's pretty objective. You start a watch, you run a distance, you time it, if it's faster than you've ever went before. And so we're actually in a relatively solid spot moving forward because we have people on the team that when you compare where their fitness is at, where their performance level is at, it's higher than it's ever been. And so we know that there are people that can step up and do what needs to be done. But we are getting close to the end of the season, and it needs to happen next Friday, or that will be the end of the season for our women's team. And so there's reason to be optimistic, but we also understand we need to be better.
You talk about next Friday. That's the regionals. You got a week and a half now. So what do you do in the time in between here? Hopefully get better. I know a couple of men were held out of that last race.
Yeah, you come off the last race. You try to get recovered as much as you can. You stay on top of your academics, your time management, so you don't have – at least try to minimize as much stress as you possibly can, moving into the championship season. Usually you can do that through effective planning. And then we just get ready to race. Fortunately, we've seen a lot of the teams that are going to be at the regional meet, whether it was at Oklahoma State or Wisconsin or even our conference meet. So you know who the teams are. So you go in and you know where you need to be, and you try to come up with your game plan to execute as best as possible to beat as many of those teams as you can. For the men, we need to be steady. Nothing's going to be given. You still have to go out there and earn it. On the women's side, we know the teams that we need to compete against and ultimately beat, and so we're looking forward to that next Friday.
Something no one is talking about is this was the 4th straight championship for Air Force cross country and track and field. Is that a feather in the cap, or you're trying to do the trifecta again? I'm talking out of turn here, I know, because it's still cross country season. But congratulations.
No pressure moving forward into track, right? We want to win every meet you go to. If it's a conference championship, you want to go out and compete to win, and that's not just on the men's side. And so that's something that we need to continue to develop on the women's side, and the commitment level required to do that, it starts in the field house. And so really before we start worrying about this team or that team, we need to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, we are developing, we are committed, we are determined, we're doing everything we can to be the best team we're capable of being. And if the Air Force Academy continues to do that, I think any conference championship we're going to be in the mix to win.
Fantastic. Ryan Cole, thanks for the time.
Thank you.